As Cardano consolidates, it is gearing up for its next big move up. We saw ADA just absolutely rally from 40 cents to over 82 cents. Big news between Charles visiting Washington, D.C., him reaching out to founders from XLM, XRP, and more projects as well with Chang Hard Fork 2 coming out. There's so much happening in the Cardano ecosystem. We are excited to share some updates with you today. I want to start with Charles Hoskinson's appearance on Bloomberg yesterday. This was about a 7-minute clip, and I have not watched this at all. I wanted to watch it with you and so you can get my live reaction and commentary on what Charles is saying on Bloomberg. So, with that being said, let's jump in.
We're taking a look at some of the activity in the crypto space because I think really Bitcoin grabs all of the attention really following the US election. You take a look at some of the gains though we've had across the landscape and Bitcoin's risen around 46 or 47%, but that line in white there is Cardano, which has actually far outpaced it. It's a gain of nearly 100% since the vote back in early November. So the reason for that, of course, we know Doge.
We kind of said this was going to happen, right? We said Cardano, we know it's been kind of consolidating. It's been bleeding against Bitcoin. It's hit the lowest it's ever hit. But we told you when Cardano moves, no one in the space moves like Cardano moves. And well, that chart proves that we were right. So let's get back to the video.
Doge, for instance, has really risen. That's the Elon Musk link. The reason Cardano perhaps is rising, or one of the factors being attributed to it, is because the founder of the token, Charles Hoskinson, report speculation in the markets. Perhaps he's having close talks with some U.S. lawmakers. May play a role. But we want to speak with him now. Yeah. Charles Hoskinson, co-founder and CEO of Input Output. And as we said, the founder of the public blockchain platform Cardano. And Charles, we want to get started with these talks. I know you had an Ask Me Anything session the other day saying that you'd had these discussions ongoing. Talk us through exactly what those discussions look like and who are you speaking to in particular?
Well, there's a lot of things going on right now. It's anytime there's a presidential transition, it's a very complex affair. And actually, the Treasury Secretary has yet to be selected, and they're kind of winnowing down. So that sets all crypto policy. So right now, most of the discussions are with the legislative branch. I'm having dinner tomorrow with Senator Scott, and I've talked to numerous senators who are in the banking sector, basically figuring out how the regulation is going to work. And we've had some discussions with people, transition team, about what they want to do with a crypto committee. And if it's going to be a czar or if it's a commission and what exact powers and how exactly does that work? And it's not exactly clear in how it's set up on the executive side, but on the legislative side, it's very clear what they want is to pass a law. So there were several attempts already in 2023. FIT 21 was the most successful, which passed the House, but it did not enter the Senate. And in the Senate, there was a bill in 2022 called FIA that was by Senator Lummis and Senator Gillibrand. So right now, there's some reconciliation of what does the executive branch want, what does the legislative branch want. What we've been told by the executive branch is Trump has a mandate that he wants America to be the #1 place to found and run a cryptocurrency business. There were also several campaign promises they're trying to connect to. For example, the strategic reserve for Bitcoin concept that also Senator Lummis is a big fan of. And there's a lot of things around asset classification that have to get resolved. The security commodity debate and what power should be reserved for the CFTC and the SEC. So it's still very early days, and we'll know a lot more in 60 to 90 days about how much level of broad industry participation is going to occur at the executive branch side. But we're already in talks with many people on the legislative side, and they're going to move forward as a co-equal branch of government with or without the executive branch to pass a law.
So interesting. He said they're debating on whether to have a czar, right? So one person kind of in charge, like Kamala Harris was in charge of the border, or having a committee. I'm curious. Let me know in the comment section, what would you think is more beneficial to crypto? Is it one person leading the charge, or is it a committee of people banding together to help with legislation? I'm leaning more towards a committee of people because in our space, there are certain projects that do DeFi well. There's certain projects that understand gaming. There's certain projects that understand stablecoins and so on and so forth. And so to have the best minds who grasp the concept of cryptocurrency, right, and financial freedom and how it should be regulated to make sure that, yes, we are protecting investors, but B, we can let the space flourish without the heavy hand of the government weighing it down. And so it would make complete sense that Charles has been reaching out to Jed McCaleb, Brad Garlinghouse, David Schwartz from Ripple. There's a few other ones he reached out to, right? He's been talking to Polkadot. So it would make total sense to bring these people all together and say, hey, let's work on something. Let's give these congressmen and congresswomen some essentially like an outline of what we think would be beneficial. What are some pain points? What does the industry need help with in terms of regulation? That way you don't have someone in Washington, D.C. who knows zero about cryptocurrency trying to write legislation and essentially it turns out hampering the industry as a whole. So, but I'm curious to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comment section. Let's get back to the video.
Yeah, Charles, David here, just to maybe pick up on that too. Is there a sense from, the senators that you're speaking with that this time around there will be support to get this enshrined into law, not so much, say, an executive order, which we all know, of course, the former might have more lasting power than the latter?
Yeah, the challenge is not will the law get passed. I think there's a very high probability that that's going to occur. The challenge is what is the scope of it? Is it strictly going to live within the auspices of asset classification, or are they going to be more ambitious and talk about custody, taxes, stablecoins, the strategic reserve, the DeFi stuff, the rules for custodial wallets and non-custodial wallets? There's a broad room of things that cryptocurrencies can touch, and the more ambitious you are, the more you can get done. But the problem is the higher the probability it gets jammed up through either some administrative issue or it just doesn't simply pass committee in the lawmaking process. So I think there's a very strong bet that we're going to resolve the is it a security or not a security issue in 2025 and kind of rein in what's been happening over the last 3 years. It's a little bit more milky when we start talking about complicated things like DeFi because less and less of the cryptocurrency companies are directly involved in that. And also Wall Street has very strong opinions on these types of things because in some cases it competes with pre-existing businesses and it's not clear how to regulate these in a decentralized way. So that's why a commission is helpful because you can establish a baseline across the entire industry of where have people run into problems. And also you can have that question of normalizing US regulation with international standards like MiCA in Europe or the ADGM in Abu Dhabi or what the JFSA has done in Japan. And it's very important that you don't develop U.S. regulation in a sandbox because cryptocurrencies are intrinsically global. Many cryptocurrency companies, mine included, have employees in dozens of countries. We obviously have lots of users, and Cardano in particular has over 100 countries. Ethereum and Bitcoin are even more. So you can't just think in a U.S.-oriented approach. You have to ask, well, how will these be interoperable with each other? So only through the executive branch can we get that level of international coordination. And then the lawmakers are here to serve, and they're very cooperative with the Trump administration, with the upcoming House and Senate. So I don't think there's going to be an issue getting a law through. It's just a question of how ambitious does that law need to be.
Interesting. So I'm interested to see, are we gonna wait to get a fully comprehensive, everything included, like Charles mentioned, DeFi, custody, tokenization, all of that? Or are we gonna go baby steps at a time? Which route are we gonna take? It'll be interesting to see. But the important thing Charles mentioned there was crypto is global, right? And so there's some countries where holding crypto was still illegal. But we know the US is the centerpiece of finance in the entire world. And so chances are, I'm not saying every country, but chances are whatever rules and regulations the United States decides to adopt, and if countries and investors from overseas want access to the largest markets in the world, which will include cryptocurrency moving forward once legislation is passed, chances are very high that you'll see reciprocal laws and legislation in other countries that we see here in the US. Of course, nothing's guaranteed, nothing's promised, but I would be leaning towards that way, which obviously would be super beneficial. Imagine not having to VPN. Oh, I'm in the United States. I can't get an airdrop. I can't use this platform. This is not available. I can't trade this token. I got to go to some sketchy exchange. All of that will be gone. And so super exciting. Let's get back to the video. I think it's almost over.
So you're saying that there's going to be some sort of commission established for this? I mean, you talk about sort of what's happened in the last few years, and I think many people would look to that regulation through enforcement actions, which of course comes down to the leadership perhaps of Gary Gensler at the SEC. There's talks of him being replaced. Who do you think is most likely to replace him? And is it the SEC that ends up regulating the vast enterprise of the crypto landscape?
So first off, it's hard to pick a commission or even talk about a concept of is it a czar, is it a commission, is it a series of recommendations, until the Treasury Secretary has been selected. That's kind of the big thing because there's some deference to that role because they're the primary oversight body of all the agencies that we've had problems with historically. Second is the question of should the Treasury Department decide that, or should it be directly decided by the president? And these are some of the discussions I think are ongoing. And if there was a czar, I would advocate a gentleman like Brian Armstrong, for example, to be that person, and then to build a subcommittee structure where subcommittees basically sit under by topic. So you have the stable coins, the exchanges, DeFi, and these types of things. But again, it's very early days. And so I think it's probably going to get resolved within about 60 to 90 days. As for the question of the SEC, technically Gary Gensler doesn't have to resign, although there's a precedent that when a new president's elected from opposing party, the chairman does resign, or at least offer that resignation for the president to have the ability to pick a replacement. And that's what we saw with Jay Clayton, for example, Gensler's predecessor. And if Gensler follows tradition, he should do that. As for who replaces him, that's a complicated affair, because the most qualified people also potentially have a bit of conflict of interest because they hold crypto and they're in the cryptocurrency market. And there's a lot of other things that are beyond crypto that are going to be considered with the chair. As you know, Gensler's also had some attempts to weaponize the SEC for environmental policy and other things outside of the scope of crypto. So the grievances go far beyond our industry in terms of the conduct there. So ultimately, these are conversations that would have to be held with the incoming Treasury Secretary and Trump's people, and they're far beyond my pay grade. I have no idea where they're going.
Far beyond your pay grade. All right, Charles, I hope to speak with you again because...
All right. So interesting stuff there. I have some exciting news for you guys. It is official. The first ever Crypto Almanac is live for pre-orders right now, and we are proud to announce the digital NFT version is going to be minted and launched on none other than the Cardano blockchain. We love the Cardano community. We love everything you guys stand for. There's a reason we picked Cardano to launch the digital version on. So if you want to support Sin City Crypto and you want to support Cardano, but you also want to get some badass information, a comprehensive guide to everything crypto in 2025, this is your go-to. I will leave the link in the description of this video and also pin it to the comment section. There's jam-packed information in there, interviews with people like Mark Yusko, full written deep dives and breakdowns of some of the top projects, complete grading and rankings. So if you're curious to see how Cardano ranked on our star ranking and how we graded it for 2025 potential, pick up a copy. This is also great as well for anyone in your circle of friends or family that maybe doesn't know a lot about crypto and is curious. Send them to the website or buy them a magazine as a Christmas gift. Send it to them. They'll find it very valuable. So that link will be in the description of this video. Real quick to wrap this video up. Again, as Charles mentioned in his video interview, he did have dinner with Senator Tim Scott yesterday, who is fairly close to President Donald Trump. This is also Charles's post. In the video, he mentioned that he would endorse Brian Armstrong if there was a crypto czar role. We also have this piece of news. It's Dave Ada just posted this. Cardano's treasury just hit $1.328 billion. A treasury is owned, spent, and managed by Ada holders via on-chain governance. That'll be unlocked in Chang Part 2. And finally, if you are a video game player, Input Output is doing a 100,000 USDM giveaway of prizes with a Hydra Doom tournament with the qualifiers kicking off December 3rd. And so here is the link. This is on their X handle, Input Output HK on X. So go and join there if you're curious or if you want to get some of the prizes. So we're bullish on Cardano. We know you're bullish on Cardano, well, because you're watching the video. And if you're bullish on Sin City Crypto, order an almanac and come check out our live show Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.